Hi guys, we sat down with Sarah, who is a college friend of mine, who has been living in Nagoya and Tokyo for the last decade, partnering with missionaries all across Japan to form partnerships and prayer groups. Let's tune in to learn about the current state of churches in Japan and what the biggest challenges are.
But I think some pastors are struggling through this idea of what is modern Japanese church. And not a Western church, but what is the modern church that we want? Like if we want specific types of songs, or we want a specific type of space, that's okay for us to want that, if it feels real and right to them. But there's kind of this shifting models of how the church looks like that's changing. And then I think there's layers of church leadership that's struggling because most pastors in Japan, almost half of them are in their 70s and 80s. And so that generation is...
So that's actually the timeline is with the first churches after
post-World War.
They're maybe born around that time.
Yeah.
And the issue of leadership succession is a big one in Japan. And I think a lot of in Asian, not just the church, Asian companies, families, whatever, you kind of get something handed down and you're expected to run it the same way.
Right.
And so there's a bit of an issue with a struggle with that as well, of younger pastors potentially wanting to change something, but their congregation is also mainly made up of people in their 60s and 70s, and so there's that difficulty of kind of people are a bit maybe stuck or wanting in the church model thing. And then there's the issue of do you meet, my church in Tokyo meets in a mall. We borrow cafe space in a mall, and there's other churches that just literally meet wherever they can meet. They just rent a room, and then in some churches, some people are really for the house church movement as well. There's all kind of just considerations Japanese values of liking respectability and being suspicious of religions. For an average Japanese person in their 30s or 40s, average company working person or mom or whatever, where are they going to feel comfortable walking into in order to receive spiritual teaching? Is it a stranger's home? Is it a cafe in a mall? Is it a little church down the street? Is it a church a bit far away in a shopping district? These are all questions to consider. Because people, even if there's a church down the street from them, a lot of people prefer to go to the next town over. So they don't want people to know that they're going to church, And then with so many cults and new religions in Japan, especially with the recent unification church issues and issues related to offering and money, there are some laws that are going to change, and I think that will impact churches that meet in homes and the way that you're either allowed to or not allowed to receive money during those times. Or if your church is meeting in a more community center building or something, there's also rules and restrictions related to that. So there's just a lot of different layers to think through in terms of what's actually a safe place for a seeker. What are the Japanese values? What's actually feasible financially?
Yeah.
There's just so many layers to think through. But there are some really, really good house churches.
Yeah.
Amazing house churches, all the way to that traditional post-war. So they're just faithful churches all across, which is so incredible.
Sounds like we're at the cusp or the beginnings of Japan churches defining their identity.
Their own, and not someone else's.
The post-world is kind of adoption of Western culture beliefs as a part of the political climate back then. And now with the generations moving, they're trying to find their own identity, whether it be more modern or something else. But they're trying to discover it so that it's no longer somebody else's identity, but their own.